Welcome back to the Bite Size Podcast. I'm your host, Lorraine Michaels. And today with me, I have another coach. I have a master coach, this amazing woman I am so excited to have on today. Her name is Angie Wisdom, a master certified coach, a best-selling author, and a Fortune 500 keynote speaker. Her message, escaping the transactional trap and building impact-driven success, which I absolutely love because what is the point if we're not making an impact and if it's all a toil for nothing? So, Angie, welcome so much to the Bite Size Podcast. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you, Lorraine. I'm so happy to be here with you.
Awesome. I would love to just dive right in.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this coaching and speaking and making massive impact in other people's lives.
Oh my gosh, that goes like, where do I start? How I got into it. It was not what I'd planned to do. I started out in the financial industry. I was in banking. I was a financial advisor for Morgan Stanley. And I found myself, and I should say, I was coaching before I knew I was coaching, right? Because as a financial advisor, you're digging into people's lives, you're digging into their goals, you're trying to figure out where their risk adversity comes from and tapping into fear. So it's almost like you're coaching then, but just from this other space. So I was coaching already. So I think there was a little bit of a natural transition, but really what had me pivot was I spent most of my life in a very transactional, performance based zone where everything was about achieving. It didn't matter what you needed, it didn't matter how you felt, you just needed to reach the finish line, you needed to perform. And I found that it was a really unfulfilling life. I mean, I was fine. It wasn't like it was bad, but I just didn't have the joy. I didn't have that get up and go every single morning. I wasn't excited about the day. And that's when it really hit me that like something is missing. So on that journey to figure out what that was and the changes that need to be made, I realized like, man, there's a lot of untapped potential within us, and the personal growth and development side outside of the performance side. It was just something that I fell in love with. It transformed my life. It gave me peace. It gave me joy. It gave me success that I wanted to be able to spread that word and impact people so that they could experience that too. Because I know, and you know, the majority of people out there are living in this transactional trap of life where it feels like we just get up, rinse and repeat. It's lacking joy, it's lacking fulfillment, and you feel like you just got to keep going.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's to a T, but in a different aspect of a different realm, if you will. I'm in
Yeah.
medicine. It was the same thing. I was climbing the corporate ladder, and it was all transactional. What next certification? What next course? And success, but unfulfilled.
Mhm,
And I,
mhm.
I see that also so much in today, and it's very transactional.
Yeah.
So when you're working with high performing professionals and
Mhm.
leaders to reconnect with what really matters, from what you have seen, what's the most common thing that high achievers lose sight of, and how do you guide them back?
The most common thing I see all high achievers and anybody really, I think us as humans lose sight of is our values. We just instinctually know when we are younger what we value. You can think back to when you were a kid and think back to like what you used to do, how you would play, whether you like to spend time alone, whether you love to read, whether you love to play teacher, you played with your friends, you just liked family. No matter what, you instinctually knew how to fill your cup as a kid. And it's just such a blessing that we know that. But what happens is as people have more pressure and they go through the different responsibility benchmarks of life, well, now I've got to get these great grades in high school, and now I've got to get into a college, and now I've got to be this in college. Now I have to be this great spouse, this great employee, this great business owner, this great mother or father. All those pressures come in and we slowly start to push our values out because we believe that responsibility trumps our values. And so everyone loses sight of that. We start thinking about the fact that, like, what I love to do and what my values were, like, oh, I used to love going mountain biking. I used to love to go surfing. I used to love to, travel more. Like, oh, well, that's a luxury. That's something you get to do when you have the time, if you have the time, something you get to do when work is done. The whole concept of like work now, play later. So that's something that they all lose sight of. And what people don't understand is that when your values aren't showing up every day, you are kind of self sabotaging because your fulfillment is going down, which means your motivation and your drive is going down. You start to lack clarity, confidence, and inspiration. So we're really being very counterproductive when we lose sight of those values.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that kind of like digs its own hole,
Yeah.
as far as like limiting beliefs start to show up, and then your mindset starts to change, and you hit these barriers and blocks. Do you see that with your clients as far as their limiting beliefs and then having to rewire their mindset?
What I see for sure, there's limiting beliefs, everyone has them, right? We all have paradigms and stories of the way we grew up, which causes limiting beliefs. So those are out there. And I think what you're referring to and what I see often with that lack of values is all of a sudden there's stories made up around that. And what I'll see with somebody is they think that everything else is the problem. Like, you know what? I don't know. I used to love my job and now I don't love my job anymore. Like, is this even what I want to do anymore? Or there's tension in their marriage, like, or with the kids because they've given up their values and there's this lack of joy. So they're looking at what is causing it, and they're looking everywhere but within themselves. So it can cause some limiting beliefs in that way of like, maybe you do still really love your job and what you do. And maybe you and your spouse are fine, but you 100% have to be able to get those values in because it'll shake up your world and have you questioning everything. It's like as soon as if somebody comes to me and they're like, I don't know what's gone. I'm off. I'm stuck. I feel lost. I
Mm.
feel like I have no clarity. I'm unmotivated. I'm like, talk to me about your values. What do you do for yourself that fills you up? Like, what do you love to do? And I usually get the blank stare of like, well, I don't really have time for much. Or I used to love to do this. So yeah, it does. It creates these stories and these false narratives about what's going on in your life.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I can totally relate to that because I've been there before, you lose sight of
Hmm.
that joy. Something that you talk about that I absolutely love is your tagline, um, bring out the non-negotiable you.
Yeah.
Can you unpack what the non-negotiable means to you and how someone begins to uncover what's non-negotiable in their own life and leadership?
Non-negotiable you is all like internal. It's your work, it's your relationship with yourself. So many times people think of non negotiable like, well, it's non negotiable that I get my workout in, or it's non negotiable that I prospect for my business. That's fine. Those are like external non negotiables. What has to be non negotiable for anything else is your self worth, your self love, that self trust, the responsibility you take for your life, your own values, like all of that is what has to be non negotiable because the rest doesn't matter if you're showing up not believing in yourself, if you're showing up unsure of like how to make your decisions and you're looking at the external world all the time for answers. So when I wrote the non-negotiable you, it was really this journey to go, how can people have a rock solid relationship with themselves that they can trust and lean on so much that all the external noise just quiets? It's no longer just chirping in their ear all the time, and the comparison or the what will people think or the worry, like all that fades away when you know yourself, you love yourself, you trust yourself, and you know your value. And that's what has to be non-negotiable.
Mm. Absolutely. I mean, that just it snowballs with right
Hmm.
into their confidence and how they're showing up in the world. And I mean, if all of that is in alignment, everything that what you just said. And on top of that, and their confidence, they're confident in all of that. The way that they're going to show up and the way that they're going to lead and the way that they're going to be a mom, be a wife is going to be that much better.
Yeah, all the problems fade away. I mean, think about this for a second. If you get people that come to you or me and they're like, I just, I don't know what to do. Somebody wants to, reduce my commission. Somebody wants me to pay me less. Somebody wants me to extend my boundaries and be able to work at night instead of just during my work hours, whatever it may be. If you had that non-negotiable relationship with yourself, where you knew your values, you trusted yourself, and you knew your worth, that would never, ever, ever even be a question for you. You wouldn't have to ask anyone about it because you would know the answer right then and there, right? Whether or not you post something online and, oh, I don't know, what are people going to think? Am I going to be judged? Again, if you know who you are, you trust yourself, that's not even going to be a question. So what I want people to understand is that by having that non-negotiable you and that relationship with yourself, half of the things that plague your mind on a daily basis that take up space, worries and concerns and questions and doubts, they just disappear. So it's this amazing phenomenon that it's like, I don't think people understand that self-trust and worth and love is the foundation of everything.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So that kind of rolls into what I wanted to dive into as far as strategy and practice and implementation. You've kind of touched on it a little bit. So from insight to action, it's one thing to gain awareness, right? We can consume all the podcasts, read all the books, but it's another to follow through with it. So, what's the frameworks or the practices that you teach your clients, that you install to help people close that gap?
It's so important. What you're talking about now is the difference between knowing and doing. And we are just saturated with content and how to's out there. And it can be misleading. You can feel like, well, because I heard this and I know it, like now it's within me, when it can actually be really detrimental if you're not actually integrating it and doing something with it. So when I started my practice, even before I wrote my book, it was a requirement. I was like, I need to give my clients a way that they can live into this daily, that they can reshape their entire mindset, that they can live from a place of abundance, know who they are, build this relationship. That's what prompted me to create the Morning Mindset Journal, which is a daily practice. It's not this is how I get there. It's a lifestyle. And I think that's super important for people to understand. Like, we don't use this when we have symptoms of doubt. We don't use it when we're in, a valley and need to, rise up again. We use this as a daily lifestyle practice so that we get to create the day that we want, so that we can shape our mindset and feed it exactly what we want it to work off of, so that we get to create a mindset of abundance, so that we can visualize our future. We can pray for what we want, like affirm who we're leading into. So that practice it's just so key. That daily repetition, the relationship with yourself, the creating what you want. And I'm happy to go through the framework with you if you'd like to, but you hit the nail on the head when you have to have an integration, you have to have a practice, or what just becomes knowledge that maybe you can bless somebody else with, but it's not going to change your life. And then what happens is we start to form these narratives of like, well, I've read all these books, I've listened to all these podcasts, I've gone to all these events, and I'm still here. And what does that do? Starts to create the self-doubt. Like, what's wrong with me?
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
could I have listened to all these things and read all these books and I still haven't changed? Well,
Yeah.
because
Yep.
there hasn't been the action, right?
Yeah. It's that applied knowledge. Knowledge is power
Yes.
ish. It's applied knowledge.
Yeah. Potential
Like you said.
power.
Exactly. It's putting it
Mm-hmm.
all into action. I
Yeah.
absolutely love that because I too have a couple of journals, but one of them that I absolutely love is the simplest one. And it's just two prompts in the morning. What am I grateful for? And in that evening, it was, what do I want to remember about today? And it's
Mm,
just the same thing of getting yourself in the mindset in the morning of gratitude and what are you looking forward to and the things that you want to call in. And then in the evening, seeing again, still in that posture of gratitude of what do I
mhm.
want to remember? What am I grateful for? It's an excellent practice and I absolutely love it. I even gave it to my 9-year-old stepson. Well, he was 9 at the time. Oh my gosh, I created that 2 years ago. But I gave it to him then, and it's just that habit of getting into that posture of gratitude. It is just so important.
Yeah. I mean, look, we're either going to lead our life or we're going to be, run around town by our life. And you get that choice, and how you start your day is what makes that choice. I remember, speaking of sons, my son started doing it at probably like 16, which I didn't push. My other son had no interest in it at all. I think it kind of brought my older son peace, and he started using it, and he was so disciplined with it. It brought him so much peace and joy. And he told me about one time he went to go stay down in San Diego. We live in Newport Beach, and he was going to stay in San Diego for an event that he was filming. And he came back the next day and he was like, I didn't have my journal with me. And it really occurred to me, like, I felt so weird because we spend all this time getting ready on the outside, right? And you take a shower and you do your hair and you put on all these clothes. But if you haven't done anything on the inside, then like, how are you showing up? Which I thought was just like wild for like a 16 or 17-year-old to say. He was like, you
Yeah.
get ready on the outside, but we need to be ready on the inside. And I was like,
Wow.
yeah, right. Can you make that a commercial for me? But it's just
Yeah.
so
Oh my gosh.
true.
That's so
So
awesome.
true. Yeah. We get ready for
Yeah.
what people see, that on the outside, but
Yeah.
oftentimes we hide what we have on the inside. So
Yeah.
where's the need to get ready for it, right? Or if we
Right.
show
Right.
up as our authentic selves, then we would get ready on the inside.
Yeah. I love that. That's kind of switching gears, but that kind of just
Yeah.
falls right into that as far as like the holistic side of it and the
Yeah.
alignment side of that mind body alignment. You talk a lot about, the mental bandwidth and but how do you approach the physical, the emotional, or the energetic alignment that
Hmm.
you're coaching that is in your coaching, especially with someone with a holistic bent. How do we do that?
I think first and foremost, we have to look at the whole body, right? If somebody comes to me and they want to make change, one of the first things I want to know is like, well, how are you sleeping? How are you eating? How's your hydration? How's your body movement? How's your mindset? Like, not because I'm a doctor or I am a, personal trainer, anything like that. I'm not going to tell you what to do movement wise or eat wise. That is not my, specialty, but it's important that you have awareness around that and know that if you are tapping into all those categories, you've just increased your ability, your bandwidth, your clarity. You've just given yourself a major, major edge on whatever development that you're going to do. Does everyone do it? No. I mean, if we surveyed people, the majority of people do not get enough sleep. They don't drink enough water. They eat like crap, and maybe they get some movement in, right? So, is it like a requirement? No. But if you want to have an edge, if you want to make your development journey easier, and yeah, you got to look at those things first. Those affect your clarity, they affect your bandwidth, they affect your energy, right? Energy is a choice. We get to decide what frequency that we're at every single day, every single moment. But lost my headphone, when you are fueled, right, it's so much easier to make that choice.
Yeah. Yeah,
We just
absolutely.
have a different foundation and bandwidth for it. It's almost as if, think about it, if you're starving, right? You're starving, you haven't eaten all day long, and somebody wants you to make a decision. You probably feel like just irritated. You can't even think. You're like, I don't know. I don't care. I don't even know. I just do whatever, right? Because you lack that bandwidth. You
Mm,
lack that energy. You lack the
mm,
clarity.
a
And
hundred
so
percent.
to operate without all of that, it's like you're throwing a 50-pound weight vest on your back, and you're like, okay, I'm just going to do this a little harder way, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a huge advantage to lean into that. It's an edge, but it all runs together too, because when you're tending to those things, it shifts our confidence, opens up so much mental bandwidth and clarity.
Yeah, absolutely. I know when I was in the hospital, that mental bandwidth was nil. Like
Mm,
before, when you go into it, you have it, but it's what do they call it? Um, decision making overload. Like by the
like
time
decision fatigue.
Yes, but
Yeah.
by the time I got home, just like you said, like if I got asked what do I want for dinner, I'm like, I don't care. I don't
Yeah.
even care. I don't care if I have clothes on right now. Like
Right.
I don't care that yeah, it's just the
And
bandwidth is nil.
it is. And I mean, it's so important because one of the number one things people say they don't have enough of is time, right?
Mhm.
Well, if I had more time,
Mhm.
if your bandwidth was at the highest level, think about the internet in your house, right? You can sign up with Spectrum or whatever. And it's like, well, do you want this bandwidth or do you want this bandwidth or do you want this bandwidth? They all cost a different amount, right? If you want the highest bandwidth to go as fast as you can and be as clear as you can, it's going to cost you more. The
Mhm.
same thing is with our mental bandwidth. There's a lot of different levels of bandwidth that you can function at, but like, where do you want to be? And yeah, if you want the highest level bandwidth, the most clarity, the most speed, like efficiency, effectiveness, it's going to cost you in terms of taking care of yourself. You're
Yeah.
going to have to make those deposits. You're going to have to make sure you're hydrated, you're fueled, you've slept, you've moved, all of those things, which I
Yeah.
think is well worth it because what you gain in that bandwidth speed, right, and that clarity
Hmm.
will far outperform where you were without it, right?
Yeah.
And so it's an instant time increaser for us to be able to have that bandwidth and that clarity.
Yeah. So, what would you suggest
Mhm.
for if someone's coming to you and they are just like, Angie, I am burnt out.
Yeah.
I have lost my zeal. I don't even know if I'm in the right profession anymore. What would it be your first one or two steps for them to get that mental bandwidth back and to regain that joy?
Two things. One, rate, right? On a scale of 1 to 5, rate how much water you drink, what kind of food you eat, how much sleep you get, how much movement you get, and your mental bandwidth, your mindset, how much are in control are you of your mindset. Rate each one of those 1 to 5. So we need awareness and clarity. That will at least give you clarity on what you're instantly can increase with just simply doing a little bit better there. So if someone's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm a 1 in my water." If you get that up to a 2 or a 3, you're instantly going to have more bandwidth and energy. No
Hmm.
doubt about it. Sleep, movement, any of those. If you look at those and you could do it two ways. Look at the lowest one, that might be the easiest place to improve,
Hmm.
or look at the one that feels, well, I'm mid-range, but I think that's easier to increase. Look at any 5 of those factors and it's going to be the easiest ROI to increase a little something there. And it could be like, I'm going to drink an extra 8 ounces of water. I'm going to get outside and move for 5 minutes. Depending on where you are on those numbers, it could be such a micro movement
Mm.
that's going to create a macro difference for you.
Mm.
So that's kind of body, right? And capacity. The other thing I instantly do is we work through what are your values. We let them leave with 5 to 7 values that you want in your life. Some of them come very naturally and they'll say, well, I definitely need time with my family. That's always an easy one for most people.
Yeah.
Some not. They're like, no, I need less time with the family. Right?
Yeah.
That's part of my problem.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. But figuring that out and whether they're like, well, I love time alone, but I don't ever get it. I would love to be outside, but I don't get it. Like we line up what all those values are. And then we start looking at how can we just in a very micro way, like we did with the body, in a micro way, how can we start getting in those values? If you love time in nature, can you sit outside for 5 minutes? Can you eat outside? Can you take that phone call outside? right? Can you do your Instagram scrolling outside, even though that's not what I'm recommending, right?
Yeah.
Like, then get outside. If
Yeah.
you like to move your body, if you know that you need alone time, park your car down the street 5 minutes before you pull in the garage and just
Mm.
close your eyes and be alone.
Yeah.
Take 5 minutes longer to get ready, but really just sit on the floor of your closet and say you're getting ready, right?
Yeah.
There's all these little modifications. So between those two, how you're treating your body, and then are you getting your values in? Total game changer. The burnout fades away, the energy increases, the motivation, the clarity, everything. You just have to
Yeah.
be willing to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I love that. There's one thing I wanted to touch on. Hopefully, we have enough time here. The holistic approach of how you coach and what you do with your clients, the hypnotic therapy.
Oh, yeah.
I want, do we, what, how can we touch on it? I know there's so many nuances to it, but talk a little bit about when do you bring that in? And is it something that every client has? But what is the most powerful thing that you have seen with using the hypnotic therapy?
It can be used with anybody as long as they're willing. I want to tell a little bit about what hypnosis is, first of all, because I think
Okay.
people have preconceived notions, right? You see somebody on
Absolutely.
stage, they put them to sleep, they make them
Yeah.
quack like a duck, and you're like, no, thank you.
Exactly.
That's not me.
Yeah.
Yes.
I still
No.
think I count wrong when I got hypnotized on a cruise 20 years ago.
Right. Yeah. And that happens. Yes, you can do that. I am not doing that to anyone in my office. It's not performance hypnosis, not at all. What hypnosis really is it's a way to do something you want to do easier.
Hmm.
All that's happening is every day, if we decide we want to do something, if we're trying to make something happen, it goes through our conscious mind. Has to go through our conscious mind. Usually our conscious mind has got the fists up, right? And it's like, yeah, I don't know if there's resistance there, if there's an old story there. It's hard to break through that conscious mind. Hypnosis allows us to quiet the conscious mind so we can go in the back door into the subconscious, lay a new neural pathway, a new belief, so it
Love
is easier to do what you want to do.
it. I love it.
Take weight loss. I don't do weight loss. I don't help people with that, but it's a very easy concept for people to understand. Someone's trying to lose weight and their mind is like, you'll never lose weight. You've been overweight your whole life. You eat like crap, right? There's just no way. It's going to be impossible. They may go ups and downs and fads and crashes and all that, but there's never going to be sustainable weight loss.
Hmm.
There's neural pathways that are telling them this, and it's too hard to break through that conscious mind. Now, if we quiet the conscious, we come in the back door and we start laying this neural pathway and this processing or programming of like, you're healthy. You enjoy healthy foods. You are lean and you are fit and you crave natural whole foods. And you put all this in there, right? We're literally programming their subconscious with a whole new narrative
Hmm.
that their conscious mind isn't calling BS on it the whole time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's a little bit about hypnosis. When I use it for clients and when I don't. I don't use it for all my clients because some of them, quite frankly, do really, really well just consciously getting through things. But I have some clients who will have that conscious block where they're like, you want me to say that I'm worthy, but I don't believe I'm worthy. And every
Hmm.
time I try to tell myself I'm worthy and I write affirmations and I say these things, it just feels like a load of crap.
Hmm.
That tells me like, man, the conscious mind is just, it's fighting. It is fighting back nonstop and they need some different help. And that's when I bring that hypnosis in to really get the conscious mind to quiet. So then I can go in there and I can say all these amazing things about truth, right?
Yeah.
Who they are, why they're worthy, what they've experienced, like all these amazing things. And what happens is over time, that's just their new programming. And so what I see with that, all of a sudden, they will be like, I never felt anything. I didn't do anything, but gosh, somebody asked me to discount my commissions. And I was like, no, sorry, this is my worth. And they're like,
Yeah.
it just came out of my mouth. And I was like, what? I've never said that before. Right. So
Yeah.
all of a sudden you just start deciding and speaking and showing up
Yeah.
as this new program. It's
Yeah.
amazing. I just
I love it.
love it.
So fascinating. I absolutely love the
Mm-hmm.
brain. I love the subconscious mind and rewiring the brain and I mean, I love it. I can go on forever for it.
Yeah. And the great thing about it is there's self-hypnosis. Anybody
Mm,
listening, like I do self-hypnosis every single morning. So you
mm.
can take 5 to 10 minutes and do a self-hypnosis around anything that you want. It is not a difficult process. It's just something that you have to practice and you have to understand. But you could get a book on it. You could chat GPT it now, right? And understand that whole, 4 or 5 step process, and you're going to get all the benefits of meditation, and you're going to rewire your old programming.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my gosh, I love that. So, if anyone has any questions, absolutely, let's contact Angie.
Bring it
Well, as
on.
we're wrapping up here, Angie, I would love for you to just tell us what that you're working on, what you're most excited about right now in your life, either personal or professional. But what are you most excited about right now?
Mm. There's so many things right now that I'm actually in a phase where I'm trying to figure out where I'm leaning the most in. Book 2 is in the work, so that's definitely a done deal, and that really is about leaning into impact and getting out of that transactional trap of life. Super, super excited about that. I've never felt like our country needed, even our world needed more impactfulness than ever. Like we need more connection, we need more impact more than anything else. So I'm very, very excited about that. And there's just lots of ideas I'm playing with. I've got a sisterhood of other coaches and speakers that we're putting together. There's 5 of us women that will start traveling and speaking, which is super exciting. I'm really considering putting out there almost like just a weekly coaching for anybody to join in, totally free, just anybody to join in, because again, like my mission is to impact. Not everyone is going to be able to afford to sit down with me one-on-one or in one of my groups or even go to one of my events. And I want to create a space where every single person, if they choose, if they're willing to, has this space to grow and to find that relationship with themselves.
I love that, Angie. That is such a servant's heart, and I
Mm,
absolutely love that.
thank you.
And I that will be huge. That will be very impactful. So I'm very excited for that, and I hope everyone takes advantage of that because that's incredible.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're
It's
so
like all
welcome.
exciting work.
Yes. So if anyone listening would like to get in touch with you, Angie, and they want to learn more about what it is that you do, book you to speak, or work with you one on one, what is the best way to contact you?
AngieWisdom.com is my website. All my socials are out there on Angie Wisdom too. Most of my content goes on Instagram. So that's the most popular place, but the name is not very common. It is my real name. And if you Google it, you'll find me all over the place. So just remember the wisdom and you'll find me.
I love it. That's awesome. That is very unique. I love it.
It is.
Well, it has been such an honor having you here and connecting again and really just learning more about you and what it is you do and how you show up in the world. Angie, thank you so much for your time and thank you for sharing your expertise with us.
Thanks, Lorraine. It's been such a great conversation.
Yeah, it's awesome. Remember, guys, if this episode has been helpful to you in any way, shape, or form, please like it, share it, write a review. It's the easiest thing you can do. And reach out to us if you have any questions. We would love to connect with you and see if we can point you in the right direction or help you in any way. As always, remember, you were divinely created for a divine purpose, and there was no mistake in you.